In 1916, amidst the turmoil of World War I, a small unit of 8 German soldiers navigated the rugged terrain of Transylvania, Romania. One fateful night, while seeking refuge, they stumbled upon a chilling and perilous discovery. Among them was Ulrich Meyer, who was swiftly captured by the Romanian army soon after the encounter. His narrative, a harrowing tale, remained shrouded in secrecy for nearly 8 decades, only surfacing within the last 25 years. Inscribed on the file's cover were the words, Mima Pajori, identifying the entity they faced as Schleiten de Tod in German, ominously translated to Creeping Death in English. This is Ulrich Meyer's account, recounted in present-day English. Ulrich Meyer commenced, "I cannot truly fathom what it was, but it was dubbed Creeping Death. Our intended route was far from this region due to the proximity of the enemy. Yet, a wrong turn led us astray as we emerged from the mountains, leaving us fatigued, frozen, and famished. Retracing our steps was an insurmountable feat in our state. Our only recourse was to seek shelter and sustenance within or near the city without attracting attention. Under the cover of darkness, we cautiously traversed the outskirts of Brushoff in the Transylvania region. Continuing their clandestine journey along the forest's edge, the group stumbled upon an ancient cemetery adorned with towering crypts. Huddled by the cemetery's fence, Captain Braun, their platoon's leader, proposed in hushed tones, "I suggest we spend the night within one of these crypts. It will shield us from sight and offer warmth compared to the open outdoors." The soldiers exchanged uncertain glances, conveying their reluctance without words. Acquainted with these men, Ulrich recognized their aversion to the idea, a sentiment he shared. Amid the relentless proximity of death, the crypt seemed, regrettably, the sole viable refuge. Exhausted from the day's arduous trek through the mountains and wary of encountering enemy forces, the group faced a daunting decision. The cemetery's fence, standing at a height of 6 feet, required each soldier to take turns scaling it while the rest kept vigilant watch. Once assembled inside, they cautiously approached the nearest crypt. As they drew nearer, grotesque demon statues stationed at its corners came into view. Approaching the imposing double doors, Ulrich observed unsettling inscriptions, reading "O can Darast," scrawled across both portals. Unfamiliar with Romanian, the soldiers dismissed the cryptic message. Lieutenant Klein attempted to turn the doorknob, confirming their suspicion as it remained locked. Secured further by a thick chain encircling the handles. Ulrich remarked, "Whoever sealed these doors harbored a strong intent to bar entry." At that moment, 2 more soldiers, Sergeant Schmidt and Private Muller, cautiously peered over the fence, their faces etched with concern, and joined the discussion. A whisper emerged, "I have a bad feeling about this. We should find somewhere else." Captain Braun's response was resolute, "Where else can we go? We're fatigued and cannot risk exposure." Lieutenant Klein, "Find a way to get us inside that crypt, swiftly and silently." Affirming the order, Lieutenant Klein proceeded to extract the pin securing the door hinges using his bayonet. With precision, he wedged the bayonet between the door and its frame, slowly prying it open. As the door creaked ajar, a warm gust carrying an unsettling odor swept out, unnerving the group. Though the door was open enough to proceed, an apprehensive hesitation lingered among the soldiers. As I turned the corner, I found all the men gathered around a large coffin. Walking over, I could see the lid had been opened just enough to reveal what was inside. I stood there speechless, looking at what appeared to be an old, horribly disfigured woman. Seeing a body in a coffin wasn't unusual, but what frightened us was that her face didn't appear to be that of a deceased person. It wasn't sunken or decaying as a dead body usually looks. We stood there for a while, gazing at the body, until Captain Braun spoke up, "Something is not right here. This is not the face of a person who has been dead for a while. Seal the coffin and get back upstairs. I don't want anyone else coming back down here." Understood, we exchanged fearful glances, nodding our heads in acknowledgement as we pushed the heavy stone lid back over the coffin, sealing it shut. No one uttered a word as we made our way back up the stairs. The fear in the air was palpable. Once we were all upstairs, Captain Braun declared, "No one goes back down to that room. Let's get some sleep. We need to wake up early before first light to head back to the mountains and figure out where we took a wrong turn." We all replied, "Yes, sir," and laid back down on our packs. As I lay on the cold stone floor, fear and adrenaline surged through my body. I wanted to leave immediately, but that was not an option. I must have dozed off again because the next thing I remember was being jolted awake by the sounds of someone screaming from the other room. It was the most horrid scream I'd ever heard. Everyone immediately jumped up, panicked. "Who was that? Who's not here?" asked Captain Braun. I looked around and noticed that First Lieutenant Klein was missing. Captain Braun then instructed Heinrich and me to go downstairs to investigate. Heinrich and I exchanged looks, both knowing we didn't want to go back down there, but we had no choice. We grabbed our flashlights and slowly started making our way down the dark stairwell. With each step, my heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. My legs and arms shook uncontrollably. When I reached the bottom, I took a deep breath before turning the corner. My mind told me to be brave, but it wasn't much help, with my flashlight in hand. I saw what appeared to be First Lieutenant Klein's torn uniform on the stone floor of the crypt. There was nothing else. I immediately yelled to Captain Braun, "He's not here." Only his uniform. Everyone rushed downstairs, stopping abruptly when they saw what I saw. One of the men exclaimed, "Where the hell is First Lieutenant Klein? Is that his uniform? It looks like it's been shredded." Captain Braun instructed me to walk around the coffin to ensure he wasn't hidden somewhere nearby. He also told me to retrieve First Lieutenant Klein's uniform. I gathered my courage and cautiously circled the coffin, scanning the pitch-black room with my flashlight. I did not want to be there when I came across First Lieutenant Klein's uniform. Upon closer inspection, I noticed there was no blood on it, not a single drop. As I reached down to pick it up, horrific images of First Lieutenant Klein being torn apart surged through my mind. This made me drop the uniform and jump back. Captain Braun asked, "What's wrong?" "Pick it up, let's get on with it." I didn't respond. I took a deep breath, picked up what remained of First Lieutenant Klein's uniform, and walked towards the men who were still standing at the base of the stairs. I handed the uniform to Captain Braun, who began inspecting it. "This is his uniform for sure. It smells weird, unlike any smell I've encountered," Captain Braun said after a moment of contemplation. Then, to our surprise, he ordered, "Everyone upstairs, we're leaving this place now." We hurriedly gathered our things and made for the door, but it wouldn't budge. I whispered urgently to Captain Braun about the door, but it remained stuck. Heinrich, known for his strength, was asked to assist. We pushed with all our might, yet the door refused to move. Panic began to set in as we realized we were trapped. Just as our flashlights went out, a horrifying scream echoed from the room below, followed by the sound of gunshots from Captain Braun's rifle. Amidst the chaos, one of the men shouted, "Who was that?" Another replied, "I don't know. But we need to get out of here." Suddenly, silence engulfed us. My heart thumped loudly in my chest as someone began to speak, only to be cut off by more horrific screams emanating from the room below. A chilling whisper passed through the group, "This is creeping death. We're all going to die." Sweat poured down my face as fear overwhelmed me. I trembled uncontrollably, feeling as though I might pass out. I whispered to Captain Braun, seeking guidance, but received no response. Another man suggested continuing our attempts to open the door, convinced it was just behind us. My futile attempts to turn on my flashlight heightened the tension. Fumbling in the darkness, I finally located the door. Despite our collective efforts, it refused to budge. As we caught our breath, I heard swift movements in the room. Struggling to comprehend the situation, I sensed someone beside me grunting before abruptly moving away, followed by agonizing screams from below. Realization struck as I understood that something had dragged him into the other room. Shock enveloped me. I felt detached, as if this couldn't be real. Seconds later, I, too, heard swift movements, a grunt, and more horrifying screams. The cycle repeated until I believed I was the only one left standing. Suddenly, something seized me, lifted me into the air, slammed me against the crypt's wall with unimaginable force, then dropped me to the ground. I lay there, trembling on the cold stone floor, witnessing the door slowly open to admit sunlight. Before me stood the woman from the coffin, her face twisted into an evil smile, holding Captain Braun's decapitated head. Then, in an instant, she vanished. When questioned about why he thought she spared him, Ulrich Meyer replied, "I don't know." Further inquiry prompted his opinion on what happened to the other men. He responded, "She consumed them. You'll find only their shredded uniforms and some equipment." The final paragraph in the file stated that the Romanian army sent soldiers to verify Ulrich's story. They discovered only shredded uniforms and equipment in the crypt, consistent with Ulrich's account. The soldiers also observed the words "Octasal" and "Darcisis" on the doors, translating to "Do not enter" in Romanian. Questioning locals revealed an old lady mentioning the crypt had held a Mima Pajori for over 100 years. Now released, Ulrich Meyer took his own life a few months later in a Romanian prison camp, having scratched Schleiten de Tod into the wall before hanging himself. Hello everyone. My name is Ibrahim and welcome to Horrible Stories. If you made it this far, I just wanted to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you gave it a like. That helps out with the YouTube algorithm. And once again, thank you so much for watching and hopefully, I will see you in the next one.